Hi, everyone. Welcome to We Didn't Turn Out Okay. I'm here with Katie Sands, TV host and founder of lifestyle blog or platform.
It used to be a blog. I should really bring the blog back. But right now it's just the Instagram account.
Called It's Katie Sands. And it ranges from everything fashion, your personal life, and now motherhood.
I feel like the whole entire page is now motherhood, that I keep like implementing little fashion and beauty things because I feel like my followers that aren't moms are like, wait a minute, we used to follow her for fashion and now it's all her son.
Oh my God, but I still think you do such a great balance. It's
Thank you.
Fashion for him, products, and I feel that you really have this authenticity of promoting and sharing things that you love, and that still shines through. So it's just like followed you in where you are now.
I know. I just feel like it's like it used to be like a fashion account explicitly, and now I'm like, it's my lifestyle account. It's just going with my life.
Right. It used to be like fashion account, and now it's lifestyle account. Well, let's go there. Can you tell me a little bit about you? Because I always introduce everyone and then we dive in. And
amazing.
Tell me about you and then.
Okay, I don't even know where to start. Well, when I graduated college, I was going into theater production. I actually don't think a lot of people know that. I always wanted to be a Broadway producer. I still kind of do, but my career took a drastic shift. And I started doing a lot of TV appearances, and the producers kept saying, why don't you do trends? Why don't you focus on different trends that are going on in fashion and beauty, you name it. So I started doing little appearances here and there. And then I turned it into a blog because Instagram wasn't really what it is today. And I would post weekly on this blog, and it started to really monetize and take off. And that was called Honestly Kate.
How long ago was that?
That was 7 years ago now, a little over 7 years, or 2000. Yeah, I'm like, let me do the math.
Yes. Actually, that's when I started, when
Yes.
Tess was born. So yeah.
It's crazy. And it just, started to take off. I had Shop Up email me. That was my first brand partner saying, we'd love for you to style our spring trends and get a bunch of girls. So I reached out to all these girls that I kind of knew through the industry, didn't really know. Some of them I still don't, I probably haven't seen since that shoot. And I styled them in different trends from Shop Up for the spring. And I was so into holding balloons. That was my thing. It's so bizarre and weird. But every time I was in an outfit, I'm like, I need to hold the balloon.
Oh my God, I think that's so cute.
It was cute. And you know what it was? I felt like there were so many incredible bloggers that I followed at the time, but they were all super edgy and cool girls. And that just wasn't me. And I was like, there has to be someone relatable that's not a super edgy, cool girl. That's what I considered more normal, what I would wear every day. I'm not going to wear a biker jacket just out with my friends.
Right.
I'm probably wearing a t-shirt and jeans, and I would kind of became the what to wear girl for young girls moving into the city after college. And from there, I started the Instagram account, and it's just kind of taken off.
And
from there.
Do you feel that it's segued far from being Broadway producer?
Yes. I mean, I don't even know. People are like, how did you went to school for Broadway production? I'm like, mm-hmm. And somehow I created my own character instead with this Honestly Kate persona that was always dressed to the nines and glam and going to different events and working with really cool brands to it being really raw and authentic and not a character at all and just becoming more about me.
And when do you feel like that changed?
I feel like it really shifted when I met my husband, Brian, in 2018, because people were coming to me for dating advice. And I'm like, I am no dating expert. I made so many mistakes. I had no idea. I was 25. I had no idea what I was doing. But these are the things that worked for me. Maybe they'll work for you too. And then people started coming to me for advice ever since then. And I always prefaced it by saying, I'm no expert. I'm no dating expert. And then when I went through my fertility journey, I'm like, I'm no fertility expert, but let me have my fertility doctor on my account to share her expertise. And I always feel like I've tried to bring in people that have more expertise than I do to share with my community. And even during COVID, I had therapists come on. I know you've done a lot of similar things, but I've had therapists come on to talk about anxieties during COVID and trying to date or get back out there during COVID. And I've tried to just use my platform. I'm like, I have this following. Let me bring on other people and give that gift to my community wherever I am in life, whether it's wedding, fertility, new mom, what to wear on a first date. Like nothing is too small.
I love that, because also what you said of when it changed, you said you think it's when you met your husband and people would come to you for dating advice. I feel like that just is a vulnerable thing for people to reach out to you about. And so it felt like this glam girl holding the balloons had to be real in her responses. And not that you weren't real when you were that person, but like this more raw, open person in your responses. And
absolutely. I mean, that person I was before with like the very curated Instagram feed, like very Pinterest worthy, it was like what I always dreamed of myself
like a
being,
persona.
but it wasn't me. It was me heightened to like the 100th degree, you know? And so like, of course, I still love fashion. I still love to get dressed up. But what's really resonated with me personally, and also like what I look for in other accounts, is just people being really authentic, true to who they are, and not sugarcoat anything. Like I found that even going through infertility issues, I couldn't find anybody except my doctor, who has an amazing Instagram account.
Lucky, right?
Lucky. Like it's so good to follow that went through it. And I kept being like, all I want to do is sit on my couch, watch Bravo, and scroll through someone's account that is answering the questions I have. And I couldn't find one person doing it.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of people felt that way. And that's really, you know, with whatever they were dealing with. But because when Instagram started, it was meant to be just like photos. And, you know, you having this Pinterest-worthy account wasn't inauthentic. It was more just like, these are images for people to follow. And then I think we're all human, of course. And it's like, okay, I've been following this person for X amount of time. I feel like I know them and I want to get to know them. Let me slide into their DMs and we have conversations. And like, you open up to strangers and you know, present your real life slowly but surely. I feel no matter how you start, I relate to that too. I thought I would just start and show just like how to respectfully parent and, you know, educate and all these things. And then I became a mom and was like, okay, wait, like.
Yeah, then you go through it yourself and you're like, wait a minute. All these things I read like might be helpful, but people are looking for like the behind the scenes of that.
Like how hard it is to do all the things. Yeah, totally. And I think that we talked a little bit about, you know, what we do now with our kids, you know, and sharing that. Do you want to share a little bit about your thoughts and what you struggle with now?
It's so hard. And I like need all your advice on this. When I was pregnant, I was so into being pregnant because it took me a really long time to get there. And well, I'll also preface it by saying it wasn't that long. It felt very long while I was going through it, but it was really 2 years of my life. And then like in the grand scheme of things, that's a blip and then you're done. So I always try to say that to people. Like it feels like forever, but now it's like that time was nothing.
That happened to me too. And at the time though, it's like it feels the waiting is the hardest part.
It's horrible. Yeah. Oh my goodness. I remember every single month I had just come off this high from our wedding and, you know, it was featured in a lot of outlets and I was like on this high from that. And then I remember being like, now I'm going to get pregnant and I'm just going to like be like, I felt like with our career, it's so much about change and people are always looking to follow the next step. And it's pressure that I put on myself. No one else is putting on me.
Right.
And I was like, I'm going to be this cute pregnant girl on the beach. And no. And then like a year went by. And then another year went by and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm just stagnant. And I'm like, I might not be stagnant in my career, but in my real life, which is 80% of me, I'm like, nothing's happening, nothing's moving. And you just like tell yourself that every day. But so when I got pregnant, I felt so grateful and I was so into my bump and like showing my bump off, styling my bump. And then I was like, but when he comes out, I'm not going to show him. I'm going to be like, he's going to be so private. And then he came out and I'm like, he's the cutest thing ever. I have to show the entire world. And now I just can't stop.
Right.
And I go through this every single day. I'm like, I want to share this photo. But is it bad to share this photo? Why are so many moms out there covering their children's faces? Should I be covering his face? And I go through this constant battle with myself because I'm the one posting every single day of knowing what I should or shouldn't be doing. I don't want someone to stop him on the street and say, oh, that's Benny, or stop my nanny. Not that I'm famous. I'm just saying, like, it happens. You start to feel like you know the people you follow.
Yes.
And I still just go through it every single day. I'm like, maybe there will be a time where I will stop showing him. And then I just continue to post photos where I think he looks really cute. So I don't know.
I think it's, for listeners, I think it might seem, and I'm not saying that we're in this like really tough position. It might seem like an easy decision to make, but when you've started a platform and have connected with people prior to showing your kids, which is more you. I started only like a month before Tess, so people got to know me along with becoming a mom, really. But it might feel like weird for you not to show, or just kind of like not weird, but sort of like it's like I'm not showing some of my friends.
Yes.
Like you create these relationships. Of course, there's thousands that you don't have a relationship with because you're just one person, but there's a lot that you do. And when you've shared so much of yourself, and this is this is your life now, Benny, and you're proud and excited and you want to just share the same way you would send to like your mom or your best friend. And I think that's right now when he's a baby, it feels probably like you want to do that. I think it will change. No, it might not be that you'll all of a sudden be like, now I'm going to cover, or maybe you won't get there. But I just feel like right now, think about maybe the intent behind the posting of it. I'll never forget, I read someone, I don't even remember her name now, an influencer was like, I started to really think about my intention before I put up a story.
That's good to think about. I'm going to do that.
And I've done that more too also. But yes, I thought I was going to be private with my kids. I mean, people listening are probably laughing about that. But I will say that the reason that we're sitting in this studio on We Didn't Turn Out Okay is because I started to really think about the long term for them and how I wanted to pull back on sharing them and their faces, and that I still felt like there was this abundance of content, maybe not today, I have to get there, of content and important things that I want to share that aren't contingent upon showing their faces. And I felt like this was that next step for me. But I think you might, just see where that journey takes you.
And don't you think it's so weird? Like I go through this area and I'm like, why are people then showing their kids back of their heads? I'm like, is it because they feel that people are going to ask, oh, is your kid okay? Because they haven't seen them. So then they feel like they have to show it, but show just the back of the head. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, what is this? Like, maybe I'll go through that one day. But right now I'm like, why would someone be posting like their kid's head
instead of just not posting it at all? You mean?
Yes. And then I'm like, maybe they feel pressure. Like I felt in the past that like I had to share something to show people like we're still a family, or we're still, it's like this constant struggle. And I only think it's going to get more confusing and more difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, my husband works in cybersecurity, so he's like,
oh my God,
don't post anything ever. And I'm always sharing. It's my job. But it's funny. Like he'll say things to me like, he'll tell me crazy stories, and then I like spiral out of control.
I need to have him on.
I know. He's so
That's
private.
so interesting. Yeah. I mean,
know,
you
it's
see
crazy.
those like AI, videos of the child's years down the line, like talking to the parents, being like, because this is what they're able to do with my imagery and things like that. Like there's crazy things.
I know. But then I'm also naive, and I like give everyone
I'm the most naive.
The benefit of the doubt that I'm like, no one's crazy. Only a few people out there.
I was the most naive, especially when I started this. Like, I'm also this like more progressive, I'd say, mom. Like my kids would be like running down to the beach, like in, bikini bottoms.
Yeah.
Till like older. And I'm just
That's like
that.
how I hope to be too, honestly. My mom was so lax with us. I mean,
but it's a different
point.
time. Yeah. Like there was a few like reports on Instagram, like, because I didn't realize that it could be like scary and offensive to other people. Like not
That's
like,
crazy.
or like, at 3 years old, them still just hanging out at home in their diaper or undies. Like, I would never do that now. But at the time I was so naive and was like, I'm so confused. These are babies.
I know.
But it's real.
No, it's so real. I mean, I've experienced it kind of on like the baby side with Benny. Like I've worked with a bunch of brands now, like as a new mommy and like with like mommy influencing. And I posted some things that I had example, I had Benny sleeping in a bassinet for like the first 3 months of his life. He was a preemie. He was small. Like the bassinet was perfect for him. So in his crib, I had decorated it with all his stuffed animals. He had never slept in the crib.
Oh, yeah. No, you can't
And
show
then
that.
people went crazy after I had posted so many times, like, this is Benny's bassinet. This is the bassinet he sleeps in. This is the one like I had it in the background, like with a photo of him or a video. I was getting attacked by like SIDS comments. And then I was like so afraid of SIDS. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I didn't even know about SIDS. And now I'm like, can't stop thinking about SIDS. It's all I think about. And that was like, sent me into an entire, what I learned is not postpartum depression. It's postpartum OCD.
Yeah.
Which was very scary. I feel like the last time I saw you, I was like suffering from that. Like
really?
At the event. Yeah. I was like very traumatic. I'm lucky I've really never suffered with bad anxiety before. And I've always been like so open to therapy and really like can catch myself when I'm getting into a spiral and ask for the help I need. And this was like, no one could help me. Like,
do you think that this contributed to it? Like these
Definitely.
People, everything you posted or shared would like send you in a spiral?
I was getting messages, and I'm sure so many people get this, about bad things that either happened to them, their kids, or their friends' kids. I was being asked to share on my stories about really traumatic, horrible incidents that happened with babies because of something in the crib. It was so bad. And I was getting to that point where I was like, if I don't post, what if something happened? Like I started
you were
going
paralyzed
like,
almost.
I was paralyzed, and I've never had that. Like usually I go like, they say like fight or freeze. Like I went like fully frozen, couldn't function. I was like, how am I supposed to ever post or ever walk down the street? Like it was bad thoughts. I feel like I just went onto a whole different tangent.
No, I totally
It all has to do with this social media.
And like the dark toxic side and all these different ways. Yeah, like the truth is that people wouldn't probably have so much passion about what they were saying if it didn't involve your kids.
Yes.
Yeah, or kids, exactly.
I agree. And even for me, it's like it holds so much more weight. Like the things that I used to care about, I still care about, but the weight that they hold in my brain and in my body just doesn't even compute to how I feel about Benny and like any little thing that comes up. And now I'm like to my mom, I'm like, how did you feel this way for so many years? Like, and my mom like is such a worrywart. And I always was like, I'm not going to be like that. I'm going to be the opposite. Like she was always very cool and like the cool mom, but she was like, she still texts us, hey, don't take the subway today. I heard about X, Y, and Z. And I was like, I don't want to be that person, but like maybe I just am.
Right. Motherhood like brings out so many different, there's so much self-awareness about who we were or are going to be. And it's also, it ebbs and flows,
Totally.
You may not stay that course. There might be things that trigger you into being a worrier. And I think I was surprised by that too. I was like, I know all the things. I'm the baby, infant, toddler expert. And then I've shared this probably so many times. I had tough babies, like colicky, reflux, all the things. And that paralyzed me. I felt like I couldn't go to a class without one of them like screaming, crying. And then I felt like there was judgment. Like this is a girl who's like saying she knows babies so well and like her babies are off the wall and, just that whole spiral. So I felt paralyzed in that way too. And then of course, the things that people say when it relates to you as a mom or your kids do hold so much more weight. It's given me thick skin, honestly.
Yeah.
And just the need to believe in myself and to feel like with conviction about going with my gut and me being the expert in my kids. And it's actually helped, inspire me to be even more creative with my content on really coming back to it's about us and our kid. Like I could give you all these scripts and things, but it's really you're the expert.
Yes, you know best. I think you've probably helped so many people, but by like sharing that your kids were colicky and difficult when they were babies, because people probably feel shame around that. And they're like, is this normal? Am I supposed to tell people? Like I was talking to one of my friends and she was like, Benny seems like such a good baby. Like I love so-and-so. So I'm like, you don't have to preface. I know you love your baby, Like I feel like people feel the need to be like, well, he's so good, but they do
Right.
X, Y, and Z. It's like, it's okay.
Right. To feel like you have like
Yeah.
not tough baby, but just that it's babies are all different. Yeah, I think you're right. And that, you know, for me, even being like what I thought was like this seasoned person with infants felt like in a very dark place with that I can't even imagine people who like are holding an infant for the first time and it's theirs, feeling like they are supposed to know what to do. And so, yeah, it made me, again, like we said, be even more open and vulnerable than I ever imagined I would be, because I just was like, if I feel this way, are there things that you felt since becoming a mom that have made you kind of think back to, you said your friends all became moms before you, right?
A lot of them,
Of them. Were there any times that you were like, oh my God, like, now I get what they were going through, or I wish I showed up for them differently? I don't know.
Definitely my friends going through IVF. Like, I had no idea. I was so unaware of the whole thing. And like, why should I be? Like, it wasn't my life.
Right.
And I don't blame friends that didn't know what I was going through either. But I was like, I should have checked in. Like, I just didn't even know what that meant. Like, until I started it myself. So now, like, when I do have friends going through fertility treatments, I'm always like, hey, just checking in. Like, if you want to binge TV and order takeout or get a blowout, let me know, because like, that's all like that made me feel happy. Like, I wasn't trying to like be distracted. Like, there's no distracting you from it. But if you want to just veg out, that was what like worked for me. And definitely with the new mom, I think the first 3 months of being a new mom, like now we're at 6 months and I finally feel like, okay, we're in a groove. Like, I like my husband again. There's so many positives that have happened since he became 6 months. We hired a nanny, which was the most difficult of the whole, by the way, between like IVF, infertility, birth, like hiring the nanny. I don't know why it was the hardest part for me.
Right. And I hear that. And it might seem like this is, it's a privileged thing to be able to hire anyhow.
I'm so aware of that. But I'm like, why was it so difficult for me to find someone that I trust with my child? Also, I work from home, that I'm comfortable with in the house, not 24/7. She's not a live-in, but like from 8 to 5, that like I can be around, because I loved my baby nurse, but like, it's hard to have someone in your house for that 24/7.
Yeah. I was going to say that might be why it was so hard, because you weren't just kind of passing off your baby. That's also hard. Like, who can I trust in place of me? But this is also, who can I trust to kind of vibe with us and support?
It's so hard.
Yeah.
And I also just felt like the prices are so astronomical, and
it's a big decision.
I was like, I just kept saying to myself, like, this is the most important decision of my life. And my husband, Brian's like, it's not, let's relax. And he's like, just hire someone. Like, already, I'm so done with this.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, I'm not even a picky person. I'm just looking for someone that I vibe with and that like gives good energy. It's all about reading their energy.
It is really a hard decision. So yes, I fully solidarity and can empathize. I just, as you're talking, was thinking of, I had hired teachers and infant toddler educators for years, and always knew how hard it is to find like the gems.
Yes.
And then it was even harder than I imagined in finding someone for my kid, and then for kids now that I have 2. And then also it's sort of like when you experience, when you rip the Band-Aid, like when you kind of go through it, it helps you kind of be prepared for the next time. So there's people I know who have hired a nanny, early on, and they've had that nanny and they're like, but I've had her for X amount of years, and, I'm the one empowering them if they're not happy to be like, I've switched so many times, and not because I'm impossible or they're impossible, just like moves and things like that now I feel it's a little less daunting. So I will say that I'm not saying you should keep rotating, but that this is a big thing also, because it's like the first time you've done it and you want it to be like forever.
Yes.
But I think similar to what your husband was saying, like worst case scenario, yes, it's not the most fun. You'll have to find somebody else, but it seems like you did find someone great, because can you share with us what you're about to do for the first time?
Yes, I found someone great, because I'm leaving Benny with her and going to my brother's wedding in Mexico. Which
tomorrow.
I'm like, yes, tomorrow. So I'm like, is this a good decision? But you know what? I really trust her. She's so incredible with Benny. And she's really proven her. I mean, I've only hired her 2 months ago, but I just feel like she's really proven herself. I've either know or spoken to her past employers. So that's also really helped, and also helped in the decision of hiring her. They're like, her past employer, the mom's kids were older, and she was like, we really don't need her anymore, but we love her. And so that made me feel really good that I could speak to someone, and like, we have so many mutual friends. But it's a huge decision. Like, I woke up this morning with such severe anxiety. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm going to another country with my husband, my parents, obviously, and my husband's parents, because they're invited as like the in-laws.
Oh, right. I was going to ask if anyone else is going to be with the nanny.
And my whole family. And I was like, is this okay? Like, is someone going to call like child services? Like, I was like, is this normal to do?
Right, the spiral.
Like, I went down a deep spiral, then I actually went to work out, and I felt a lot better after. But I texted my mom, and I'm like, who's a ball of nerves, because it's like her son's wedding, and she's not hosting the wedding to begin with. And so she's like, what's happening here? And just like trying to distract herself. I feel like it's so hard to be a mother of the groom.
Oh my God, yes. Are you ready?
I know.
Kidding.
And I'm like,
so
many of my embryos are boys, and I'm like, that might be me at all times. So
that is hard, right?
Like, it's so hard, because we love my future sister-in-law. She's the best, but she's planning with her mom, as she should, as I did with my wedding. So my mom's like trying so hard to bite her tongue. So my mom's like, I'm so nervous just to go. I have nervous energy. I want to just get there already. And I'm like, oh God, don't talk to me. Like, I'm having my own nervous spiral. I don't think I should go to Mexico and leave Benny. Like, it's just not okay. But you know what? I think like this is why you hire people that you can trust.
Yes.
And it's all going to be good.
And it's really healthy for you and him. Yes, he's only 6 months, but I do think that the two of you, and like, let's talk secure attachment for a second, like being able to separate and come back together and know that that's still there, and mommy's still there, Benny's still there, everyone's still whole, is such a good thing. And whether it be at 6 months or later on, just once you do that, you grow, you become stronger and more confident and
more
capable
trust in your child care too.
Yeah, totally. I don't think you would have made this decision if 2 months into this nanny, you didn't feel the way you do.
Oh,
so that's a huge testament to you.
I would have been schlepping him to Mexico, which would have been a total disaster. And I would have been giving him his vaccines earlier. Like, the whole thing, there were so many things that when I had him, I'm like, yes, he's going to be the ring bearer / flower boy. And it was like all really cute in my head. And then when it actually like came to the month of, I'm like, why am I bringing a 6-month-old to Mexico that has to get 2 extra vaccines in order to come back into the country, which is a new thing I didn't even know about.
I didn't either.
Like, how am I dealing with... And by the way, I want to like say I love Mexico. It's like my favorite place to go on vacation. It's not a knock on Mexico. It just is what it is. Then I'm like, wait, how am I cleaning his bottles?
Yes.
I just started
there's so
going
many
in
logistics.
like, there's so much, and I want to be present for the wedding. I'm also like so excited to be like part of their ceremony too. And there's a lot like I need to focus on, and it's also I need to give them my attention.
Yeah.
And I would not be able to otherwise.
Well, for anyone listening, I hear all of that, and I actually think it's like it's a great decision, because I can tell that you feel good about it.
Yeah.
I did not make that decision, and I was pregnant when my sister was engaged, and it first started with, do you want to, do my bachelorette when you're 7 months pregnant or 7 weeks postpartum? I'm like, obviously 7 weeks postpartum. Like, I can't party when I'm 7 months pregnant. This was like...
I mean, my water broke on my sister-in-law's bachelorette.
Oh my God, no.
And I was 8 months pregnant.
Oh my God. So we clearly did like the opposite.
It was crazy. I do not recommend my OB. It was like, you're not even dilated. Obviously, you can go to the bachelorette.
Where was it?
In the Hamptons, thank God. Like, we made it back to the city. But like, had I gone out with them that night to the Montauk, which was the plan, it would not have been a good situation.
Oh my God.
And I randomly in my head was like, I don't feel great today. Like, I'm just going to take tonight to chill, and I'll be like very present for the next 2 nights of the bachelorette. And I went home and my water broke.
Oh my God. That is so crazy.
I know, but sorry to interrupt. So keep going.
Her bachelorette was in Mexico. And then, of course, 7 weeks postpartum, like, this date is looming, and it's so daunting. Goodness. And I feel, 7 weeks.
No, that's not.
I don't know what I was thinking, but it was a younger sister, and now she has a 3-year-old and has since been like, oh my God, I had no idea. But at the time she felt very far away from understanding like at all. And the truth is I was still her big sister, even if I was also a mom now.
Mm-hmm.
And she was still my younger, at the time, not married or parent yet. And so that was something to still navigate.
Wait,
you know?
so did you go?
Yeah. My baby nurse is like, should we come to Mexico and you can like feed her in the room? I was like, no. But the things I had to put in place, I remember being in the back of like a party bus with at the time, like we didn't have like the LV. Is that what it's called?
yeah.
Any of that.
And pumping. Oh,
and like
no.
with the battery, pumping and like doing all the things. But I swear, I feel like it made me, I'm not recommending that, but I had to do that. I had the most incredible time. I really let go. My mom watched Tess at the time, and I came back, and the fact that like she still would feed from me and like it made me realize just how strong that is.
That is the connection.
Mm-hmm. And then for her wedding, I did bring Tess. She was only like 3 months, and she was so cocky that my younger sister was like, she can't walk down the aisle.
Stop it.
Yeah. And I was so consumed and like preoccupied that I'm really happy for you that you made this decision.
You're making me feel better because I've been having a whole mental spiral today.
Oh my God. No, it was one of like the hardest weekends of ever. Both of those, both were incredible. But yeah, they were hard. I didn't have to like do that. You know, she didn't have to be there. And I think
I actually had one of my best friend's weddings 5 weeks after I had Benny, and he came 5.5 weeks early. And I was supposed to go and speak in the whole thing.
Oh, because he was early.
He was a preemie, which is so wild. And like I've met so many incredible preemie moms from social media, which is why I also think that there is a lot of positivity to social media. Like I've connected. I didn't have any friends who had preemies, so that was so new to me. Like when my friends were like, wait, we can't come to his bris. I'm like, first of all, why would you ever want to? But do you know what I mean? I'm like, but second of all, I'm like, no, you can't come over to meet him. And like, no one really understood why. I'm like, not for at least another, till he's term.
Yeah.
And like, that was hard to implement. Yeah. But I just remember thinking, I didn't go to the wedding, obviously. And she was disappointed. And I totally understand, because had I not been in this place, I would have been disappointed in a friend as well, as if I like hadn't known.
Right.
And my whole family went to the wedding, and I felt bad not being there, but I was like, there is no way.
I think I remember you like showing like FaceTime or something.
Yes, exactly. I'm like, how did I think I was going? Like, I just, it was like with a preemie at home. I just like couldn't imagine.
Right. But that's what I'm saying is I feel like you've been able to, people didn't hear this part of the conversation before we started recording. You were saying that you've always been the yes girl.
Yes.
And how you feel like you've become the no girl. But I think it's different. I think you've just become like the sure girl. Mm-hmm. It's what it seems.
I love we're like marketing it a different way. I'm going to bring you around
that
with
just
me.
like flew out of my mouth. I was still the unsure girl early in motherhood. And I think that's so hard, you know?
So hard. I think I'm lucky I have a lot of really close friends that are older than me that, you know, I can ask advice
like pave
for.
The way,
yeah.
kinda.
And I kind of have like all types. Like my sister-in-law is so relaxed, like we'll leave the kids home with anybody. And like, then I have friends who are like much more neurotic. So I kind of am like, where do I fit into this? You know, like I try to figure it out. But I've always been the yes girl, which has been such a big transition, probably the biggest since having a baby. Like I'm the girl who's like always prided themselves. Like, you need me to come down to go to drink with you because you've had a bad day? Yes. Like you need me to show up to this segment because the host couldn't make it. Yes, I'll be there at 3 a.m. You know, like I've loved that. And I kind of thrive on it, like been an adrenaline junkie my whole life, which probably sounds a lot scarier than it actually is.
I relate.
And then all of a sudden I had Benny and I'm like, no, I can't go to that. No, I can't show up to that. I have to bring him to get a vaccine today. Or no, like, you know, he has hives. I have to go take care of that. Or I just became the no girl for so long. And I'm like, is this just who I am now? Or is there a transition? Like, it's definitely for me I become someone who's such an introvert but can act very extroverted to just being someone that's like introverted, but also just always home from what it seems. I'm
Right.
home when I need to be, but
I think that
it's very different.
yeah, it feels very different now. And there might be like an entirely different kind of balance that you strike between always yes or always no. What does it bring up? Do you still feel torn when you have to say no? Like you're saying that you've changed, but when you do say no, is there like, what's the internal process?
Yeah, I'm like, oh, this feels so bad. I hate
Really?
that I can't show up for that person. I hate that I have to say no to this play date. I also have 10 cousins in the city. We're all in our 30s.
Oh my
and
God.
it's really fun. 4 of us had boys within 6 months.
That's amazing.
Our first, all of us, which is amazing and the biggest blessing. But it's also been really eye-opening because everyone parents differently.
I was just going to say.
And it's not like the weddings where we're like, are you having this rabbi or are you doing it this way? Are you having a Saturday wedding? The stakes are so much higher.
Right.
It's like, are you getting this vaccine or are you not vaccinating right now? Like, the stakes just are so much higher and the relationships have changed.
Right.
And making decisions if someone has neurovirus or if someone has whatever. There's so much going around right now. I don't even know. Someone has the flu. Like, how many days do I wait to have a play date with that cousin?
Right.
And it's like, I don't want to be the bad guy all the time. But that's like who I am now.
And like when you do something different than someone you're close with, when you're parenting babies around the same age,
Yes.
it's sort of this like unspoken, I disagree with what you're doing or I judge you, whatever we attach to it. And that's a thing, right? I think
so hard.
that's a new thing with motherhood, right? It's not just you respect everyone's different decisions, but there's like you said, stakes are higher even with kind of what's attached to a decision you make that's different from someone else kind of parenting alongside you. Like just to fast forward a little, like a lot of Tess's friends, they switched from like dance to cheer, and Tess tried the cheer and decided to stay in dance. And I'm like, then is it like,
I can't believe cheer is even a thing.
It's such a silly example. My point is,
no, but that's like such a crazy thing to hear. Like that just wasn't even around when I was younger.
Oh my God, I actually was a cheerleader, but not at that age. But yeah, it's just like, do they, and no one's judging there. My point is like you make these decisions that might be different from those parenting alongside you. And it feels really big when they're young. But just that I love that you have the perspective of just everyone parents different. And do you feel like those around you feel that way too? Or do you feel like with cousins or not to say names that there's judgment or?
I think there's like judgment. Like I think like in some ways people that I'm with like might find me to be super overprotective or neurotic. And then I've used like the preemie thing kind of as an excuse for some of the things because I can. Because like my pediatrician will be like, well, he's the preemie, so no, he shouldn't be getting neuro right now, or he shouldn't be getting this.
Or
like
move up the vaccines.
Exactly. Like that was a huge thing for Mexico to move up the vaccines. Like she's like, listen, he's doing so well and he's thriving, thank God. But like, there's just no reason to give him vaccine 6 months earlier. Like, let's just get to the year mark and then we can move on from there. And I when you asked me like, well, we wanted to talk about on like things that were up top of mind for today's podcast. Like I wrote in like keeping up with the Joneses because I do feel like this has to do a lot with it because I've always been that person that's like always did my own thing, like never tried to be somewhere. Like someone invites me somewhere, thrilled, I'll come. But like, I don't care if I'm not invited. Right.
You're not like FOMO.
I have JOMO. Yeah. I'm like so thrilled if someone's like, oh, I didn't get invited to that dinner. I'm so happy. Like all I want to do is like watch TV. I sound so lazy. All you do is watch TV.
I love having guests on that I feel are so different in certain areas than me and just like getting all that positive. Like JOMO is so much better than FOMO.
I have so much JOMO. It's actually like a problem where it's like, because Brian and I can get so into our JOMO phase where he's like, wait, did you see that so-and-so like had a dinner party? And I was like, oh yeah, we were invited. I said no. He's like, what? He's like, you have to run these things by me. I'm like, I just was not in the mood today.
Oh my God, that's great.
I know. But you know what it is like with the kids, like my nanny will come home and be like, Jack and Jack are signed up for Little Maestros and Little, I don't even know the names, Little Jim and something this, like Benny should be too. And I'm like, he should? I'm like, he can't even sit. Like, do I need to be signing him up? You know what I mean? It's harder with kids because I don't want him to fall behind or not be with the crew. And like that's been the most interesting, where then I'm all of a sudden like Googling like every single music class on the Upper East Side. And I'm like, which one should he be in? You know?
Yes, it goes from like 0 to 100,
Yeah.
right? Like I didn't have him in music class, but now they were telling me his friends did. So which ones do I have to sign up for? Yeah. And I think what's attached to that, right, is like what you said, is my kid going to be behind, right?
Yeah.
You're not like worried that he's going to be like left out or like
No.
whatever. As he gets older, it's more, am I not doing all the right things or am I not doing enough?
And my mom was saying to me, because my parents moved us out of the city when I was 3, my brother was like 1.5. And she said to me, like, she's always pushed me to stay in the city and live, like have a family in the city, because she was like, you know what, like I loved it and I loved my childhood on Long Island. But she was like, if I could have stayed, I think a lot of things would have been different. And my husband's from LA, so it's always been like, where are we living situation, and always back and forth. And we bought an apartment on the Upper East Side, so we're staying. And she's always like, don't get caught up in all this stuff, and you know, where everyone gets a blowout or goes for coffee and does this. And it's hard because when you have kids, you want to meet up with people and you want to connect them. And it's not even for me, because I like have enough friends who are moms. Like and I know a lot of people don't, but the city makes it so easy.
Right.
Like the access is all there. And I'm sure it only gets harder to make those decisions as your kids get older.
Yes.
And I saw that from so many of my friends who grew up in the city. Like they had access to a lot much younger than I did.
Yeah. And I think it's only better to kind of like make, find your way in what you kind of say no to, and you only do that by kind of going to everything.
Yeah.
Not right away, but just realizing where you need to or not need to be. There's a lot of times that throughout, now Tess is 7, she's my first, throughout these 7 years that I was like, I used to feel like I always had to go to X, where I look back. And I think that it's just kind of trying things, and seeing. I think if you
drop off or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like another thing that we talked a little bit about that I think you touched on here that I think would be nice to get into is just how you said that it's changed for you in terms of, feeling like you have to get done, you were saying blowout or coffee or meet people. You said recently that you wish you could just kind of lean into the JOMO with Benny.
Yes. Well, I feel like, and trust me, I know I'm in like such a privileged point in my career where I can really, pick and choose the brands and partnerships I have. And I'm so grateful that I put in so much hustle in the beginning to get here. But there are so many days that I wake up with spit up all over me. I couldn't look more feral. And I just was like, why did I pick this career? Why didn't I just show up in an office where I didn't care what I looked like, type on a computer, and then go home and be with Benny? Instead of like having everything I'm feeling, like this new term that I discovered from my friend who's a maternal therapist, Elizabeth Barron, who you know, matrescence, like it's all playing out in front of what seems to me like the whole world. Like my 400,000 followers isn't the whole world. I'm aware of that, but that's how it feels. Like I'm like me being confused on how I should dress or what I should be doing with my career and how it should change and all the new things is playing out in front of everyone.
A lot of people, yeah.
And so I try to just be really honest about it, but there's so many days like I don't want to go to that event because I don't feel like dressing up today and I look disgusting, and why do I have to go to that event to still stay relevant in my career? Like why can't I just sit at a computer and type away, where I know like so many of my friends who do that are like, oh, we hate this job, we wish we had more flexibility in our day. So the grass is always greener where you water it, I like to say, but it is definitely like a push and pull in my mind constantly, where I thought I was creating this career for myself so that I would have more flexibility and could have a family and could do more. Whereas now sometimes it feels like I sort of did the opposite and I have to show up for a lot of other people in ways that I really only want to show up for Benny.
Yeah. And I think that when you said the grass is always greener where you water it, but sometimes you're like not wanting to water, the job that you've kind of set up for yourself to have this flexibility now. And I think that, that's okay to feel kind of that pull. How do you get yourself out of it and it's getting up and getting all dolled up?
I'm sure you felt the same way, but I friends or cousins of mine or people, I just say that because that's who I talk to the most, will say to me, you're so lucky you didn't have to go back to an office and you can be home and check on Benny. And I'm like, yes, but also I didn't take one day of a maternity leave because if I don't work, I don't get paid. And the day I came home from the hospital, I was filming a partnership that was due 3 days later. And I know I chose this career and I made it for myself, but since becoming a mom, there are so many days where I'm like, why?
Right.
Why did I make this decision? It's just, how do you take a maternity leave when you run your own business?
Right.
And what am I supposed to shut down? My account? It just doesn't work that way.
And do you feel like it also is different than what you sort of fantasized it would be? Did you think you would be able to come home with your baby and film and it would just be kind of what,
I don't think I thought about it this far. I think when I started it, I think our generation is so self-involved and it's just a product of how we grew up. And I was so self-involved as well. Everyone is. We have these pages that are all about ourselves.
I know.
And I do so much to try to combat that. I try to get involved in different philanthropies that have nothing to do with me, my world, or people always say to me, why don't you get involved in more Jewish philanthropies? And I'm like, well, first of all, I feel I do enough. And second of all, I'm trying to do something that has nothing to do with my world to get me out of my own head. And I feel that's really important. And I think also being a mom is sometimes being with Benny, I forget about myself, which is great.
Yes.
So I'm I don't even have time to think about myself. And I can only imagine it gets harder the more kids you have. But I just think I don't know I'm still trying to figure out how to get past it. There are days where I wake up and I'm like, yes, today is the day. I'm going to shoot X, Y, and Z partnerships. I'm going to rock it. I'm going to do my makeup. I'm going to feel so good and so confident. And then other days I'm I'm just faking it till I make it. Not to be inauthentic, but I know I have to work on this partnership and I don't feel great today. But a lot of times when people go to work, they're not feeling themselves and they have to take that meeting still.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that you'll realize if it is something you're comfortable with, you probably already do, but just being open about that, Obviously you're not filming a partnership that is supposed to make you feel good and being I don't really feel great now, but but I just more mean in terms of the day-to-day, right? I think it gives people kind of a breath of fresh air, right? To know that we're not these superhuman, how does she do it people. And I think also Benny's so young, but for our kids too, that when we kind of make it all look so easy and don't kind of lean into the human, part of it, we're not giving anyone real permission to be anything but. And so I think that's important to just own and be okay with, even if you have to drag yourself out and get stuff done.
But sometimes it does take me, sometimes I'm maybe I need to treat myself to a blowout today and I'll just feel like a different version of me.
Yes.
And it'll make me feel better.
Yeah.
It sounds so superficial, but it's the truth.
This reminds me of advice that I want to take that I one of my friends talked about recently, and I keep referring to Mel Robbins, the 1, 2, 3, go. Have you heard of that?
I implement that all the time.
I need to start doing that. You remind me of that.
Sometimes I'm I hear Benny crying in the morning. He doesn't really cry. He does more
oh my
when
God.
he's up, and he's such a good boy. And I'm I could let him do the hooing, the owl noise for another 20 minutes, or I can be get out of bed, get your ass up. You're a mom. It doesn't stop today. And so I'm I'm going to count to 3 and I'm going to go. And it really works.
Oh, I need to do that.
Or I had to give a speech the other day on infertility, and I was I cannot give this speech. I was dealing with my own personal struggles postpartum, and I was I cannot give the speech.
You felt too emotional?
Yeah, I was I'm going to cry, and I not like that at all. And And I had to say it. And I've been trying to do it because I'm on the board of Make-A-Wish, and I haven't been able to grant a wish since I had Benny, because the one rule you can't cry in front of the kids. Like, you're supposed to make them feel great, not like pity them. And I'm like, I don't think I'm in an emotional state right now to go in and grant their wishes. And that's just like, that's so selfish, but it's the truth. Like, I don't want to start crying.
It's self-aware.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I didn't know that. You can't.
Yeah. You go through like serious training. And it makes sense why, like, I was always confused. I'm like, why do so many of the new moms like take on other like leadership roles and they don't do the wish granting anymore? And because it's so like close to the heart.
Right. You become a more emotional, like deeply feeling person when you become a mom.
Yeah.
You might be able to, but right now you're like still like fresh, hormonal and all the, and I don't mean it in a condescending way. Like, you actually are dealing with,
I also always heard that, like, people are like, there's hormone drops and there's this. And that's nothing. Like, I can handle that. No, like, when it comes over you and you're like, what is happening? It feels like you're on drugs.
Oh my God, it really does.
And I know what that is.
Me neither.
No, but it's really scary.
And like it makes sense that, sort of like how you feel at 3 months and then 6 months. Obviously it differs for everybody, but, sick and then dependent on breastfeeding and things like that. But, hormones start to really kind of stabilize more and more, obviously. So 6 months I felt like was also like a turning point for me in sort of figuring out who I was as this new mom. Obviously not who I was going to be as a mom. But yeah, you sound like you're in such like a good, confident place.
That's very kind.
I really mean it. Like I feel like it took me a really long time to get there, and I'm still, we're all still on a journey. Yeah. Do you think that there's anything that has really contributed to trusting these decisions you've made, or sort of, I love going with your gut as a mom, and how I said before, I want people to feel like they're the expert in their baby. Do you feel like there's anything that's like helped you feel that way?
I think like being able to ask for help, like, it really does take a village, and not just physically, but also emotionally. And when I wasn't feeling great and I was feeling like very low dips and a lot of OCD, I immediately spoke to a new maternal therapist. I didn't even know that was a thing prior. And I just, I was like, I really want to be better. Like, I don't want to like get into this hole. I want to get out of the hole, and I want to feel more myself. And also just knowing that there are these hormonal dips and knowing that it's very normal. And like, if I feel this way, I know why. It's not like I'm going crazy.
Yes.
I think that's been really helpful. And just like you said, just being authentic with my audience and being like, yeah, I'm not feeling so hot right now. And if you're not either, I've learned it's really normal.
Yeah. Oh my God, how powerful is that to know, right? That you're not alone and that it's normal. I heard you say before about your husband, like, I love my husband again. I know you were joking, but what role?
I feel like I wasn't. No, it's very hard. I think like, I can joke about it because we're very much on the same page, but I think it's really difficult to go through years of infertility treatment as a woman and then go through the 9 months. And I was really feeling like sexy when I was pregnant. Like, I felt like a pregnant princess, and then things like changed when I had the baby. And someone said
like
the term,
your view of yourself changed.
Like I was like, what is this body? When you're pregnant, you're like, or I felt like this. And I know a lot of people don't feel confident pregnant. So like I empathize with that. But I was like, oh my God, I am superwoman. I'm growing this child. I beat infertility. Like, I was like, I am on the top of the world. It's probably because I was also giving myself progesterone shots, which like I have now learned like really amp up your mood. And
I didn't even know that.
I didn't know that either, but I was like, I have never felt better. I was like, I'm taking sexy photo shoots, like doing all of the things. Like, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, I am superwoman growing this child inside me. And then my water broke and he came flying out. And like that also releases oxytocin really fast, which also can like it heighten your mood in a good way. And I was like, the men do nothing. I'm like, I couldn't even believe it. Like, that's really what was going through my mind. I'm like, I don't even need you.
On? Right.
My doctor got
like,
me pregnant. Yeah.
Here?
I was like, and it was really intense because I'm like, he's the best. He's the most helpful father. Like, he gets everything done. Like, he orders all our stuff for that. Like, he does all the things. And I just felt so much more superior for a long time. And it wasn't, I think, until I stopped breastfeeding that I started to feel like our playing field was leveling out. But it's a weird transition.
Yeah. Oh my God. I've never heard anyone talk about that. And it's so true.
Yes. Like I was like, I'm feeding this child that I made and like carried.
I'm doing all the things that he and I need.
And he is taking care of us, but it just didn't feel equal.
Right.
And I think knowing that that's just life too. And that now at this stage when he's 6 months, like he's able to do so much more because he can now feed him the bottle and can take a lot more pride in like being a dad and he's the best dad. I'm like, oh, you are useful, you know? And it kind of like clicked in my head, like I need you so I can go do my things on the weekend and do like, you're not just like this person that inseminated the petri dish. Like, you know, like it's so silly, but it's true. And I like started looking at him differently, being like, I like love you so much more now than I even did before he was born. And like, I was missing that, I think, in the first 6 months.
Yeah. And that really contributes to how you feel about your spouse if you are going through that, right? Like it's sort of, you know, you're looking at them, I wouldn't say judgmentally, but sort of, or like a lack of respect, but just something, looking at your spouse with something along the lines of, you know, I have all that I need, you know, what do you have to show for this whole thing, you know?
Like, I always heard people say, like, you love your spouse so much more when you give birth. And I was like, it's not that I don't love him, but I'm like, the so much more isn't here yet. And then it came. So I'm like glad it came because I was starting to get like a little nervous.
And everyone's experience is different, but I think that that's important to share. Yeah. I don't remember like when I felt that. It wasn't as much like when am I going to feel it? And now I do. But I will say that looking back, there's so much now that Matt has grown and done as a father. I know there's outside noise. That I could have never imagined him doing or taking on as a new dad. Yeah. And so it really, and I think similarly, I remember my mother-in-law coming over with my colicky babies in the beginning and me feeling like she feels like she's never going to have a relationship with them. Up until they were like even toddlers, they were just very picky about who, and now she has the most beautiful relationship with them. And so I will say that, you know, some
stages are for different people. I found that too. Like my dad is, like I always, and I still feel this, like felt like he was the best dad. Like he played every game with us, did all the things, like was very physically hands-on. And then when he came to meet my son for the first time, I'm like, he can't even carry the baby. Like this is so strange. And then my mom said to me, I was like, it's so weird. Like I can't leave the Benny home with dad. I don't trust him. He like can't carry him. He doesn't know what to do. He's so like fidgety with his hands. Awkward. And he's like, hi, Benny, like sarcastic. And I'm like, this is so weird because like that's not how I knew him as a dad. And my mom's like, he was the best dad when you guys were like 4 and could actually do things.
And you have memories.
Yes, and that's what you remember. And he will be like that as a grandfather. But like some people don't know what to do with babies.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's such an interesting part of it too, right? Seeing your parents in this new lens, right?
So crazy.
Whether it be with babies or just them as grandparents and how you imagined and remembered them, that's like definitely content for a whole episode.
Definitely. Oh, I can go on about this. I have a lot of content to talk about.
Yeah, and even your mom, the worry ward, and maybe, you know,
and my father-in-law's a perinatologist, a high-risk pregnancy doctor, so that was a whole different angle.
Oh my God. And then your husband with the cybersecurity, like you are
I'm all over the place.
set, but also a lot of like, fear-mongering there, I'm sure a little bit. Well, thank you for sharing so openly. I think that listeners really can see themselves in someone like you sharing so openly. I know I even did. And it reminded me of just kind of the journey that we take when becoming a mom, from pre-mom to mom, and to me now, like a little bit further into career and mom.
Yep.
And I'm really excited to see what that looks like for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This was so fun.
And where can people find you?
They can find me on my Instagram at It's Katie Sands.
Thank you guys for listening.